entire theme presentation with you guys. Thought that might actually be more valuable than just going through product specs on some of the new things out there. I think he's going to touch on a couple of the changes on the theme product, PE10 specifically, but I'm going to turn it over to Matty.
Hey guys. I've actually changed up my annuity presentation since last time I've done this. I don't do the tic-tac-toe anymore.
Real quick, I just want to let everybody know the slides we're showing were emailed out to everybody.
Okay, good.
This one right here doesn't look as good because they photocopied my original here, so you may want to Google search. But I used to do tic-tac-toe presentations and everything, and that's fine for certain clients. I've actually kind of skipped right over that, and I kind of go right into this stuff now, and it actually works pretty well. So we can do questions and we can do a questions session afterwards. Try to hold a lot of them until the end because they actually just write them down for me because I may answer them on the next slide. So don't kind of jump in. I want to try to get this thing nice and done in 30 minutes or so. A lot of people are asking me where I'm finding these things, and a lot of this stuff I've been working on for a number of years and just having med sub clients and kind of staying in touch with them and everything. But some of these ones, I mean, I'm going out there to do an ACA from a referral from Facebook, and then something, you know, turns into this. And whenever I meet with people and they hear the word annuity, they're always shutting down, right? When I do this, all I do is I go right into it and I'll say, Mr. Grove, do you know anything about annuities? Do you own any in your portfolio now? No, I don't like annuities, or yes, I do, or whatever. And what I do is I jump right into this. I'm actually, you know, doing the fact finder. But if they don't, whether they have a lot of money or little money, I start with this right here, and it's Annuities 101, and that's what's up here. Okay. So this is Annuities 101. Can we make that jump up? The full screen.
That was the best you're going to get.
Okay. What I like about this is it's not product specific and it's very basic, okay? So even if somebody's like, oh, my husband took care of all the finances or my wife did, I don't know much about investing, I'm going to explain to you what annuities are. What's the definition of an annuity first? What is an annuity? Does anybody know?
Contract between an insurance company and an individual.
All it is a contract between an insurance company and an individual, okay? There are three major types of annuities that we're going to go over. The fixed one right here is like a glorified CD. As it says up on the screen, in a fixed annuity, the insurance carrier declares a current rate of interest, guarantees a minimum rate of return, and a guaranteed principal, okay? I'm not going to jump too much into this right now, okay? In variable annuities, have you ever heard Susie Orman or Dave Ramsey talk bad about annuities? Oh, my brother-in-law lost a bunch of money, hates annuities. I completely agree. You're actually going to get this email too. Yeah. In variable annuities, these are the ones that are bad. Not all annuities are good. I hate these. They're very expensive. They can be very risky, and there's better alternatives out there. You immediately get on the same page with them and be like, okay, so that's what other people are talking about. Fisher Investments has advertisements downing annuities all the time. Okay, so you can kind of, like I said, mention that with them. And there's this third one here called an equity index annuity, also known as a fixed index annuity. Okay. I'm sorry. Did I go into the details of variable? Let me read the variable here. In a variable annuity, the annuity owner bears the investment risk. Variable annuity policy values vary directly with market performance and may result in a loss of both principal and previous earnings. It's important to read that out to them because we're about to show them an index annuity where they can't lose principal and, more importantly, previous earnings, right? I'm kind of doing training at the same time as a presentation here, but earnings are tied directly to the performance of various underlying investment vehicles. They typically an array of mutual funds, including equity funds, which are available within the variable annuity and selected by the owner. So basically, there's sub-accounts inside of it. You select it, and they can lose value, and you're paying someone to have that manage it for you. An index annuity. In an index annuity, the interest rates are linked to the growth of an equity market as measured by an index like the S&P. The index annuity owner enjoys the upside potential, but is not exposed to downside risk. It has a fixed minimum guarantee, and the value of an EIA can only increase due to market growth. It will never decline to market movement. This is boring reading it out to you guys like this. Note this so well where I flip this around and I'm going word by word, and some of those statements are really powerful, and it's going to supplement, it's going to back up what I'm going to show them next, okay? So me just talking at you is not a big deal, but when you're showing it to them, you know this so well that you're reading it upside down to them, They like those things, can never go down. It locks in games.
Hey Matt, can I be the board nerd for just a second?
Yes, Dave.
I just wanted to let you guys know, when these kind of annuities first came out, we used to call them equity index annuities. Theoretically, that's not compliant anymore, so I want you guys to just use the term fixed index annuities as opposed to equity index. There's actually a lot of them that actually have bond indexes now and that sort of thing, so just call them FIAs for me, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. So, and then it has some more of the features and benefits afterwards. I don't always go over the features and benefits on this side here because it kind of gets a little bit redundant in the paragraph that we just had, okay? But this is, again, it's very baby steps. Let me show you 3 different types of annuities. Again, some of these people, that's not what you went there to talk about. Some of these people are whizzes with investments and be like, so what are these annuities that you're talking about? Or I heard bad things. So this is just the little sampling right here, just to get them on that conversation. The next slide that I show, no, skip over that one.
This one?
Yeah, skip over that one.
This one?
Yeah, straight to that right. You guys have all seen this before. This does not show all the way to 2019 right now, or the end of 2018, but again, it's just to serve a purpose, okay? So when we're looking at this chart right here, I'm gonna go to the back of the screen. Sorry. So when you're looking at this chart right here, this is what I always start with. This red line right here, this is the S&P 500. I like this chart because it shows from 1998 all the way to 2016, and it shows the power of the market, both good and bad. If we put 100 grand in back in 1998 and tech stocks were booming, we would have made $20,000 in 1 year. You sit down with your financial professional, I don't care who they are, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, what are they going to tell you? Hey, we're doing great, let's sit here and let's keep going. Yeah, no problem, boss, let's go. Very next year, the market skyrockets again. You go from 100,000 to 136 in 2 years. Almost 37 grand you've made. Sit down with your advisor. What do we do now? Let's keep it going. We're doing great. 9/11 came out of nowhere. This wasn't a trending trade war conversation. This came out of nowhere, and in 1 year's time, the market crashed from 136 below your original investment of 100 grand and dipped into your principal, and you're down to 99,000. That's a powerful year right there, because not only did you lose the previous 2 years worth of growth, you actually dipped into your principal by almost 800 bucks. Now you go into your advisor's office and you're all upset, say, well, now what are we supposed to do? What's he going to say? Well, we need to stay with it. We need to stay with it. The market will come back, right? Well, the market didn't come back and it dropped down to 78. You start with 100, you're as high as 137 almost, you lose all those 2 years of gains, now you're actually dipped into your principal by quite a bit. And now if you've ever played poker before, your chips are all in the middle, you need to see this hand out. You can't afford to take that money out right now and be more conservative with it, okay? And unfortunately, the market has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of consecutive growth. I finally trust my advisor again. We're finally back up to where we were in the heydays of the tech stock boom, and now we're up to 145. 2008 happens, and this is when the mortgage industry goes belly up. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac go under, there's the AIG bailout, all those things are going on. The market, you go from 145 down to 111, down to 100. Well, in 2009, if you had that right in the S&P, you're pretty much what you started with 11 years prior. There are certain times where this blue line is actually outperforming some of those negative years. And this year's for a minimum guaranteed contract value. I use this as a correlation to a fixed annuity, roughly paying maybe 2% or so, okay? Just for an illustration purpose so they can see that. So there's some really good times when the market's doing great and some really bad times. And what I recommend to folks is not putting all your money in a coffee can in the backyard. We want to have some kind of growth, but how do we keep it safe, right? This green line here, if you put your money in here, you see this very first year, you made 11%. You didn't make 20, so if you did something like this, you'd be like, well, that stings. I didn't make an extra 9,000. The very next year, you're up to 125. You see this here? Well, if I left it in the S&P, Matt, I would have been at 136. The power of this program that I'm going to show you here is not on the upside, it's on the downside. When your market crashes down, zero is your hero. This is important. You don't take any losses, but more importantly, you get to retain these gains. You may have made 25 grand in 2 years, but you'll never go backwards. And then next year it floats across again. And when you're rebounding from 125, not 78. Okay? And that's the real power of this, not on the upticks, but when you're not taking any losses ever. So you go up, you don't go down, you go up, you don't go down, and you're growing going forward. Now this is 2016, like I said. The market is actually way up here somewhere. Okay? But what I look at with these programs is that the market's up, down, way up. I don't know what's going to happen for the next couple of years or here coming up here, but if there is a market correction, it wouldn't be a bad idea to being more conservative after coming off of a 10-year bull market that we've had here recently. A lot of people have forgotten what these down ticks are like because the market's done so well lately, right? Well, in the month of December, the talk of trade wars made the market crash considerably. And a lot of people lost. I had a client pull a statement out. She actually said, my broker told me not to open my statement. It's not even worth looking at. But I had her open it right there on the phone with me. She tore it open, lost 53 grand in the month of December. Oops. So the whole game plan is that when you're doing this and you're working and you're 40, 50, even maybe 60 years old, you can ride out these waves of the ups and the downs. But what happens if this is 2019 coming up for this year and we're about to have a huge downturn and then it goes down again and you're taking income streams off of this at the same time? So now not only is the market losing, you're paying advisory fees and you're making withdrawals from it that you've never had to do before. Whether it's minimum distributions at 70.5 or they're taking regular income streams to supplement their income. Okay? So what this is here, it's kind of like the porridge. Some porridge is too hot, some porridge is too cold. This one is just right. Not to use too many metaphors and things with you, but I think investments and insurance are kind of boring, so you got to kind of spice it up a little bit, especially when you're presenting to people of all different backgrounds. You guys have seen this presentation before. There are updated versions of this. I like this one because it shows that tech stock boom shooting way up and then coming way back down again. Does that make sense? So I'm going to ask any questions about this here before I move on? No? Okay. So you've heard me do that before. Go to the next one, John.
What's the next one? The Phoenix?
Yes. What's that?
What was the
The blue line is more like a fixed annuity. That's the way that I correlate it on there. So they can kind of see like these are how these annuities are. A lot of the fixed annuities, what it really is the guaranteed minimum that's inside of it. But I use it just as a visual to say this would be something like a CD at the bank or a fixed product that's out there. So when you go back to this, again, this is the blue line. This is the red line in like a variable account, and this here would be like the green line. So you can refer back to this sheet again. I'm talking about taking your funds that are in the red line and potentially moving into something safer. Or you get too much money in the bank in the blue line, let's get you more growth potential without taking any risk. So again, you're going back to your this original chassis. This program here is the blue line. And I actually wrote a pretty good sized one of these right before the holidays. And this is one that I'd never seen before, and I like it for a couple different reasons. It used to pay 3.95% in an interest rate. I'll just go over this right here. So issue ages are 0 to 85. This is with the Phoenix. It just got bought out by Nassau Re. So issue ages 0 to 85. If you've never sold an annuity before, this might be a nice starter for you. The minimum is 15 grand. You have an option of choosing a 5-year or a 7-year period. If you choose a 5-year period, these will be your interest rates. If you chose to have a 10% free withdrawal every single year, you would get 3.65%. It's not bad. I mean, it's not a great interest rate, but it's better than what CDs are paying, and it grows tax deferred. And with a CD, you can only take out how much a year? Interest only. Interest only. This you can take out part of your principal and have access to it. The 0%, if you don't want any access to the funds, they'll give you an extra 20 basis points. So they'll give you 3.85. The most popular one that I've been doing is this one right here, and this is the one I sold before. It was paying 3.95% interest, and that is a 10% withdrawal every single year. Okay? Not bad to make almost 4%. When you've got folks that are in the stock market and they've got bonds inside of there, most advisory fees are around 1%. So add 1% of that as a fixed number. That's like your advisor putting you in a 4.75% account with no risk at all. If you've got someone that's drawing money out of their accounts and they don't want to touch principal, you can take interest only out of that guy and it's pretty strong. Again, I wouldn't recommend the 0% for anybody just because I like having the access to it, but if I can get 10% withdrawal every single year, 3.75 is a good rate for what they're doing. And there's not a huge jump from 3.65 to 3.75 because the interest rates and where they're at right now, they don't want to tie that up too long. They talk about the interest rate guarantees. You want to scroll down a little bit? I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's pretty straightforward. Interest rate guarantee. That just means it's pretty straightforward. 5 years, 7 years. The interest rate for future guarantee periods will never be less than 1 after their 5 or 7 years are up. You can take withdrawals if you go above and beyond the 10% free withdrawal and that 7-year program. It's a high surrender fee, so this isn't designed for all their money. But if you put part of their money in here and access it up to 10% a year, that will be the surrender charge afterwards to get it out. Question?
No, just so everybody knows, because Matt's 100% right. Until about 10 days ago, this was the best deal in town. Today, the best deal in town is Equitable.
I'm going to get into that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's where we're supposed to hold our comment.
Okay. No, it's just higher rates than that.
No, so he has a good point. Equitable has a 5-year program paying 4%, but you can only access 5% a year as a withdrawal. But it does have that 4 in front of it. Can you scroll back up again? So to make it comparable here, it almost splits this one in half right here. So it's a 5% free withdrawal on Equitable. That's a B-rated company as well, and their interest rate's 4%. It's pretty strong. But just keep in mind, they can only take out 5% a year. Okay? But it doesn't matter, and this is interesting because I had an ACA client. She had $3 million in a portfolio, and I'm not going to get it. But I had her on the phone, and she said, well, I'm pretty happy with my lady right now. And I said, what's the goal of your money doing the fact finder? Oh, I just want to take my money out of it and just leave it alone and not have to worry about it. 2018, she withdrew, and she didn't make it back up for what she was doing. She took 80 grand off of 3 million and still lost money. She couldn't keep that up, okay? I was explaining to her the way the 4% program worked. 4% on 3 million is 120 grand a year. That's 40,000 more than what she was making, and it's interest only. She could leave that trust alone for the next 7 years or however long she kept it for and never have to worry about touching principal. Not that she was going to do that, but again, she was so interested, she said, when can you come out and see me? I did show it to her. It didn't work out because her husband squashed it. But that's not my game plan. I'm here to present it to as many people as I can, and I'm going to find someone that says yes. Any questions about this? I don't want to spend too much time because it's just a fixed annuity. If you've never sold one before, it's plain vanilla. If they've got 50 grand in the bank, maybe start with 15,000 just to make them a client and go from there.
Hey, Matt, what's the minimum you got to do on that?
15,000.
15.
15,000.
So if you had 10, you couldn't do that problem.
No, Equitable, you could do 10.
Equitable, you can do 10.
Well, there you can do 10 as well. Just come out with 5-year product.
I don't know what the interest rate is.
Equitable, by the way, you could do 2 years as well.
What's that?
There's a 2-year and a 5-year. So if someone wants to be shorter, you could do 2 years.
They could do 2 years on Equitable? Okay. So,
I have a quick question.
yes.
So it goes up, the maximum is $1 million. Is it like it insured up to $1 million or 300,000?
300,000. Yep. Yep. And you can do more than that in Equitable and this. You just have to have a special form signed for to request a higher face value. Okay. You don't make a lot of money in this, guys. I'm going to tell it to you before you're shocked afterwards. These commission rates are terrible. Okay. The reason why is because they're rinsing out every last interest rate to compete against other. This is called an MYGA, a multi-year guarantee annuity. So they're trying to give the best interest rates possible, and they're not good. I mean, you're lucky if you make anywhere from 0.5% to 1.5% at best. But if you're leveraging assets and you have different things going on, it may not be a bad mix in conjunction with an index annuity or something else. Okay? I'll get off my soapbox with this, but this is a fixed annuity. Like Marty said, there's a 4% 5-year annuity as well that's pretty strong. So that's option one. You could put some money into a fixed annuity. It's designed to be nice and safe and just have access to it. Even if you chose this product, that's 4.75% fixed if it was in a brokerage account because there's no fee for this. I get paid for what I do, but it's not off of your money. I get paid from the insurance company. Does that make sense? Make sure you use that because the total light bulb comes on when they start seeing that. Next one. So we're going to talk about a theme. This whole slide, I don't go through every little thing on here. Again, this is trying to be like a 15, 20-minute presentation as a teaser to get some traction in there. So a couple of things I highlight. $87 billion in assets. It's an A-rated company, which is excellent. I had another slide on there. If you don't know what the A ratings are, you can download what the AM Best says. We offer A and B rated carriers. Those are the ones that we go with. If you go below that, it's not as good of financial strength. So, 87 billion in assets, A-rated company. This is the company I'm going to share with you that has one of the more powerful annuities that are out there. Okay? So, we've talked about red lines, green lines, and blue lines. I showed you a blue line, and that's a fixed annuity. I don't sell variable annuities because those are the ones that are bad, high fees, and they're all the risk here. I'm going to show you the green line and one of my favorite carriers that we work with now called Athene. And I do this in the house. I go back to original starting point and review going forward. This here is a map of the different ones that are available here. This one here is called the Athene Performance Elite 10. You see that red state, South Carolina? It's issue ages 53 to 78. So we have Athene. It's a green line annuity. It's an index annuity. And the product itself is called the Performance Elite 10. Next slide. If you ever heard me say this before, if you're making an ice cream sundae, I don't care how big the cherry is on top. If it's poop flavored ice cream, it's not going to taste good. Okay? The bonus on the Athene is the cherry on top. Don't sell the bonus. Don't even mention it until the very end. Okay? I don't say that to the client, obviously, but when you're talking about this particular program here, I actually covered up with my hand. Obviously, my hand's not big enough to cover that there. So there's two different accounts you can actually do. One of them does not have a fee, and one of them does have a fee. Similar to what your broker's probably charging you, roughly around 1%. Okay? Scroll down. Instead of showing you all the different accounts that are inside of here, too far. Instead of showing you all the different ones that I don't recommend, I'm going to show you one of the more popular ones. Okay? This year tracks the Janus Fund. This 1 year no cap point-to-point participation rate is 50%. When you look at 50% of this, whatever this Janus Fund does, if it does 10, you get 5. 10 you get 5, 20 you get 10. Right? It's pretty straightforward. Go to the next slide. We're going to go back to that. When you look at this cheat, look at this one.
Is that this one?
Yeah.
Yep.
This is how the actual Janus Fund has performed. And what I like about this, I always start right here at the lowest. Okay? The Janus Fund itself, and I like this one here because I personally believe that the next couple of years aren't going to be that great. That's just me personally. I'm not a forecaster or anything, but this shows the lowest, the highest, and the most recent 10 years of how this has performed. In the lowest 10-year scenario, I think this is what's going to happen for the next couple of years, and if it was, and you put, this was the 4% bonus, but so you have a 0% interest, what happened that year? It must have went down, right? 0 was my hero. Very next year, what happens? Must have went down again. 0 is my hero. I personally think that's going to be 19 and 20 coming up. But, I mean, I might be wrong. What's important about all of these is whenever you see the zeros, bang, 11%. Next year, 7%. Another 0. Bang, 8%. 12, 7, 0, 0. In a 10-year span, when you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative years, because of those good years, you had an interest rate of 4.59% averaging those 10 years with 0 risk. And that's the lowest that this account has done. Okay? So obviously there's no fee to manage this. This is the other account that they had. And I mean, that's netting 5.59 in a brokerage account and the lowest that it's done. And keep in mind, there is no risk going forward with this program. The most recent 10 years, again, you get the 0, 8, 8, 0, 8, 12, 7, 0, 0, 20. If you ever hear somebody say, oh, those things never pay any interest, they're capped at 2, 3%, There may be some of those cases out there. That's not the Athene program. This is proof for you right here. I don't care what Wall Street's saying. That has the potential to make double-digit returns in here. But it's never going to be a negative double-digit return like you've seen on that chart. Okay? So this is what the par what we do, and obviously you've got the highest year. Basically what it's averaged out to is between 4.59 and 6.61. It's not going to make 10, 15, 20% consistently every single year, but you'll never have a parentheses around your growth, which means it's a loss. Does everyone follow me so far? I know some people are brand new at this, so I don't want to go too fast. Okay. Okay, so if you want to go back, John, to the main brochure.
What page?
Keep going. Right, yeah, that one right there.
The quick reference?
Yeah. Next one. Next one up.
Oh, this slide?
Yes, that right there. Okay, so again, what is this? What type of annuity are we talking about? Fixed index annuity. Which color is the line that I showed you on the chart?
Green.
It's green, right? There's no risk. You cannot lose value. I don't have the licensure to do that. If you want to buy stock and mutual funds, that's a whole different guy for you, okay? This particular program is done through an A-rated carrier. It's Athene, and you see how the actual account has performed anywhere from, what was the numbers again, 5 to 7% or so? Some of these carriers, if you're in that ugly annuity, like a variable one, sometimes there's penalties to move that account, and there's a surrender charge. These carriers offer upfront bonuses to help offset that surrender charge. You may not have any penalties. If it's just sitting in cash or whatever else, they'll give you an upfront bonus, and there's two to choose from. And this is where you talk about the cherry on top. This is not smoke and mirrors. This is not some kind of death benefit or anything. This is a straight cash for premium bonus. If you choose this one here, it's a 4% bonus immediately. 100 grand, that's $4,000 in that account that only goes up from there. And by the way, if you make 10% on that account, that 4% is making that as well. Okay? It's in there right away for you. This guy here is very popular, and I'll show you why. It's a 9% bonus up front. That's $9,000 on 100 grand. It does have an advisory, not an advisory fee. It does have a rider charge rate, but it gives you some extra bells and whistles that I want to share with you. And a lot of people like it, okay? So 9% bonus, it does have a rider fee. It's going to be the same Janus fund at 50%. It doesn't matter which one you choose. It's still going to have those inside of it, okay? We can have separate classes going through all of those different things if you want to, but again, I'm trying to give you a quick once over with this. Next page. So with this, keep going up. You're missing one here. What's the, go to the next page down. Yeah, right here. So these are added benefits that you get built into this program here, okay? Number one, if you go with the base, you can't touch it the very first year. If you go with the one with no fee and a 4% bonus, you can't touch it the first year, and every year afterwards you can take out 5%. If we add that liquidity rider into it, you can take out 10% right off the bat, if you need to, and then going forward. If you get confined to a nursing home, or you come down with a terminal illness, scroll down, or if you happen to pass away, these aren't withdrawals. These are things that they'll waive all the penalties for you to get that. You can't control confinement in a nursing home, terminal illness, or obviously passing away. If you go to the enhanced free withdrawals, this is one of the extra benefits you have with the rider. 10% a year immediately. If you don't touch it any given year, it's 20% the very next year. That's nice access to have. That actually helped sell the big one I had last week, because she was concerned because she had a lot of money in cash about having access to it. She put an extra 100 grand in because she knew after 12 months she'd have access to more money. So instead of putting in less money, she said, if I can touch it in 12 months, that's fine. She still had 130 grand in her checking account. Crazy. Okay? So enhanced free withdrawals as part of the 9% bonus. Otherwise, you can't touch it the first year. It's 5% a year. Return of premium after the 4th contract year. As Dave says, this is a get out of jail free card. If you want out of this annuity, you can get everything you put into it on the first day back out after 4 years. Most of my clients don't end up using this because you can access it as you're actually doing it. Okay? But it is there for you in case you were concerned with it. That's your liquidity rider that we talked about before. There is enhanced annuitization. I don't want to talk about that because you forfeit over the lump sum, but some people decide to turn an income stream on from that. Okay, now go up, because this would be the next page. This here is if you go above and beyond that withdrawal feature. This is the surrender charge schedule, okay? And you're looking at the one right in the middle here. That's your surrender charge going down, and it's a declining scale. I wish the surrender charges were hardly anything, because if that was the case, we'd cash the annuity in next year. I'd sell you a whole other when we get a bonus, and I'd make money all over again, but obviously they won't allow that, okay? So they have to, have some kind of penalties to move that. That's above and beyond the liquidity that they give you. This is boring right now, I get it, but when you're showing it to them in person, you're going slide by slide in front of them, and you're asking them some questions in the meantime, it's very helpful. And I made a joke last time, but I actually say this, and it's funny how many, I think Mike's the one who told me today, he's like, I saw that stupid M&M commercial when he's in the boardroom, the caramel M&M. I say that in the house, and it just gives him a little bit of chuckle, and it just kind of creates a little bit, it's not as, it's nerdy, but either way. So when you have that, in case you haven't seen an M&M commercial, caramel goes in there and he has laminated resume. I say, yeah, I laminate all my slides, but it does help. Instead of giving them a product brochure that I leave with them, it's actual things that I use on a regular basis when you get good at the repertoire. I did too. Well, thankfully. So, that's basically, it's a lot of just product-driven stuff, but when you see me go through this, it's the same stuff all the time, every time. I have way more one-liners and little things that I say with these. One of my favorite ones is, imagine if you're my dad. Getting close to that age. Imagine if you're my dad, and this actually, we're going back tomorrow, and the guy has 1.3 million. I said, honestly, if you're my dad, you don't need this money. You play golf, you play tennis, this is really fun for you. What's the goal of your money? Just want to have it grow there safely? I walk up to you, and you get a stack of chips, and you're sitting in Vegas at the blackjack table. You guys have heard me say this before. You're sitting there, you've got $1 million in chips on the table right now, and at any given time, there could be a market correction, and you can't control that. And I'm not talking about little dips like 8 or 9% like we saw in December. I'm talking catastrophic things like the Fannie Mae, the Freddie Mac. You know what happened in December was just off of the talk of trade wars. Nothing even really happened with that. And it's back up again and we're all fine, okay? But imagine if you said, hey, I'm your son, I come up to you, you got all these chips on the table, and you ask the blackjack dealer, do you think I should cash out now and go back to the room? No, you're doing great. The guy's tipping them out every single year. Tips are great, by the way. I don't mind tipping my blackjack dealer when I'm on a run, I'm doing really great. What happens when it's a push? Does anybody tip a Mike, do you tip a blackjack dealer if it's a push?
Nope.
What if you lose?
Nope.
Nope.
Why would you tip them, right? You realize you're tipping your blackjack dealer, whether it's a push or a loss, you're paying a 1% fee every single year regardless. How much is that in $1 million? $10 grand a year. This one particular one, they were taking out like $2,000 a month. I said, you're taking out $2 grand and he's getting $1,000 as well. He's taking out half the money that you're taking out. And you're tipping him whether it's a push or you're winning or not. For the last 9.5, 10 years, you've been winning. You don't know what it's like to have that. We had a little blip in December and it's right back up again, right? I'm not telling you, hey, you know what, let's go over and play poker instead. That'd be a better bet. I'm saying, let's just go and leave it all together. You don't have to be in the market right now. What's the goal of your money? Go back to this. If you want to be part of it in the fixed one, you can do that. It's paying 4%. You want to have some growth in the index? Take a 9% bonus, pay the same fee that you're doing now, and just don't have to worry about it anymore. If you've got $1 million, you want to take half of it off the table and put it in your back pocket. Those are the things that I use as metaphors, and it helps. And the tipping works really good too. I'm glad you're here because you play blackjack. But you say that to them, they're like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why would I tip if I didn't win? So, you've been winning. It's just a matter of when's a good time to get out. Because obviously, like I told you in this chart here, it's not a good idea when it's going up, right? Because we're doing great. Not a good idea when it's going down. So when's a good time to get out of the market? My blackjack dealer loves me because I'm tipping them. I asked the pit boss, and they're comping me a room because it's spending so much money here. They don't want you to ever leave. It takes an outsider to come in and say, maybe you should do something different with your life savings. You've accumulated all these funds for the last 40 years, maybe even inherited some from your parents, and you're typing on a computer, and you've never hit the click and save button. I'm might be wrong, and for the next 12 months, the market went up again. Darn it, Matt, I could have made 20%. I only made 11 instead. But what if I'm right? What if the next 2 years the market drops 20, 30, 40%, and you said, thank God you came here to talk. What did you come to talk about again? A drug plan? This is how I meet clients. I'm not Merrill Lynch, I'm not Morgan Stanley, but they hate me because I take business from them all the time. Does that make sense? Again, I try to use these metaphors, but obviously you can see I'm better at metaphors than I am brochures. I don't like brochures, but the people that we're meeting with do. They like to see it, they like to hold it. Mike said, why don't you show it to them on your brand new iPad? I said, because people like to actually grab it and look at it. Okay? Any questions? Nothing? Start with this, and again, I do it in order for a reason. Use the fixed variable equity index or fixed index like Dave said, the indexed annuity, show them the lines on there, and what are you looking at for the rest of your life money? What are you looking to do? But that 9% bonus is crazy big.